Thank you. Dear members of the Board of Governors, dear families and friends, dear faculty and colleagues, and most of all, dearest class of 2025. Welcome. My name is Berit Ebert. I'm a faculty member and director of public programs and strategic initiatives here at the college, and I will briefly guide you to the program for today. The first matter of importance that you have to remember is the rough choreography of what will happen. So we will have the official ceremony here, and afterwards we will have a reception on campus, which is on Waldstraße 15. I'm very certain that Google Maps will guide you there wonderfully. If Google Maps doesn't do its job, you can also rely on real people. This would be my colleagues from the faculty and the administration, as well as the students, and of course the class of 2025. You see them here, you can't miss anything. All right, dear class of 2025, most importantly, this event is about you and for you and in your honor. So I hope that you will enjoy the next roughly 2 hours that we have put together for you, even if a few hours are certainly and by far not enough to praise you and your incredible work over the past years here at the college. But we shall try our best. 4 individuals who will be key in this program, but who were also key in shaping your studies here at Bard College Berlin, will appear at various points in this program. And these are Catherine Toll, the Dean of the College and Professor of Literature. Dorothea von Hantelmann, who is the Associate Dean of the College and Professor of Art and Society. You can't miss her, she wears the best coat today. It's really cool. And you will also hear from Tom Toy, our Managing Director, who flew in from Annandale to celebrate with you. He is an economist who is known to excel at handing out flowers, and he will prove so later today. And there is, of course, Florian Becker. Since he's not only the managing director of Bard College Berlin, but also a scholar of literature, Florian knows how to speak and choose the right words. And this is why he will welcome you. Dear Florian, please join me on stage. You probably already are on stage.
Hi. Dear class of 2025, today is your day. We, your families, our guests, your friends, professors, members of our Board of Governors, staff of this university who has been working with and for you, are here to recognize you. We recognize each one of you for your skill and understanding, for what you have acquired through your studies, and for the contributions you have made to our small republic of scholars through sharing your work and reasoned arguments. Modern Western universities have held a dual place in the world, one that places a characteristic dual demand on their members. I think that you, the members of the class of 2025, have experienced this dual demand particularly acutely. On the one hand, universities are places of freedom. They hold a particular privilege in society that both derives from and carries with it a particular responsibility. In the university, the arts and sciences are liberal or free, in the sense that they are not tasked with any outside aim or purpose. Science, scientia, is the activity of seeking, testing, and establishing knowledge. No state, corporation, or other agency gets to tell scholars what to seek knowledge about or how. In particular, no one gets to tell them how closely related the object of their inquiry must be to yielding material benefits or to solving social problems. The point of studying the free sciences is that you get to think about and determine yourself what matters and what you want to seek knowledge about. I hope and trust that you have been able to avail yourselves of this privilege by seeking to understand and answer such plainly impractical questions as to how to tell knowledge from opinion, how to tell just from unjust actions, or how to tell on what products of human art and invention you should spend your limited lifetime. On the other hand, universities and their members are, of course, part of the social world. As such, they have been subject to a constant and increasing assault by events that create enormous needs and urgencies, including the need and urgency of understanding them. Since you became our students, we have seen the takeover of Afghanistan by the Taliban on August 15, 2021, the all-out invasion of Ukraine by Russia on February 24, 2022. The terrorist attack on Israel on October 7, 2023. The subsequent and ongoing assault on Gaza, in which Israel continues to perpetrate horrific war crimes as we speak. The second election of Donald Trump on November 5, 2024. The fall of the Assad regime in Syria on December 8, 2024, and the ongoing catastrophe in Sudan. Among you, there are graduates from many of these places, as well as from India and Pakistan, which are still teetering on the abyss of war. At the end of these 4 years, we stand in admiration of your determination and ability to confront these events as citizens in action and as students in seeking to know and understand. Since I cannot do justice to the intellectual work that you have done on these and other pressing issues, I shall instead ask the audience to look at your program notes for the titles of your senior theses. And I shall mention that only last week, Bard College Berlin students and their counterparts from partner campuses in Bishkek, New York, and Abu Dis presented reports on human rights abuses in Afghanistan, Burma, China, the DRC, Libya, the occupied territories, Russia, Syria, Sudan, Thailand, Tunisia, Ukraine, and the United States. That's quite a list. Unfortunately, we cannot leave Germany off the list of developments that have been of increasing concern to the members of our small international community of scholars. 9 days ago, the world commemorated the 80th anniversary of the end of the Second World War and of German National Socialism. 6 days before, the Federal Office for the Protection of the Constitution categorized as, I quote, certainly far-right extremist, end quote, a political party that, just as we began this academic year, reached a third of the vote in the state elections of Thuringia, Saxony, and Brandenburg. On February 23 of this year, the same party reached more than a fifth of the vote in the national elections and became the second strongest force in parliament. The federal office summarized its finding as follows, I quote, "The ethnic, racial understanding of the people that prevails in the party is not compatible with the free democratic order. Specifically, the AfD considers, for example, German citizens with a history of migration from Muslim-majority countries as not being equal members of the German people, as ethnically defined by the party." End quote. Doing so is in breach of the German constitution, which was ratified on May 8, 1949, exactly 4 years after the end of the war, months after the Genocide Convention, and months before the Fourth Geneva Convention, and which, in its first article, designates, quote, "the inviolable and inalienable human rights as the basis of every human community," end quote. And in a Kantian formula, declares the protection of the individual holders of these rights as the, quote, "duty of all state power," end quote. The categorization of this party as unconstitutional is now before the courts, where it duly belongs. However, a free and democratic order and society cannot be preserved by its constitutional organs alone, the executive, the courts, and parliaments. And I think we see that. It can last only if it is sustained and protected by its citizens and civil institutions. The university is one such institution. The specific responsibility it has in this task is to provide and protect the space for free inquiry, both into the most fundamental and abstract questions and also into the most timely and pressing ones. This is a particular and irreplaceable responsibility, rooted in the fundamental conditions of truth or knowledge seeking. We might call one of these conditions plurality. Since humans are embodied and limited, truth-seeking has to include many of us, each with our different points of access to and perspectives on the world. The other condition we might call universality. Whether a claim about reality is true or not does not depend on which individual makes it, and the consideration, weight, or testing it is given must not depend on that individual's origin, nationality, sexual orientation, etc. Ultimately, universities are able to sustain the space for truth-seeking only in free and democratic societies. And since societies depend on the production, recognition, and availability of truths about the world, they can remain free and democratic only with well-functioning universities. This is the fundamental reason why universities are amongst the very first institutions that autocrats and would-be autocrats attack, as we have seen in Hungary, Burma, Russia, and the United States. Dear class of 2025, you are now about to leave Bard College Berlin and spread in all directions of the globe. It seems to me that no matter where you are heading, and for the foreseeable future, your and our freedoms as citizens and thinking human beings remain under threat. For most of you, the special freedom of being in a university is now coming to an end. I have little general advice to give you, but I'm confident that whatever institutions you will join in your professional and civic lives, and however imperfect these institutions may be, you are equipped to probe them for their potential to resist such threats and to bend them in the right direction. Thank you. Now the exciting part begins, and I would like to invite my colleague, Professor Agata Lisiak, onto the stage. Where is she? Oh, there she is. And Agata will introduce our and your commencement speaker, Fatin Abbas.
Thank you. It is my great honor to formally introduce this year's commencement speaker, Dr. Fatin Abbas. Fatin is an accomplished writer, scholar, university professor, and I'm proud to say, a dear friend. Fatin works across different genres, both in fiction and non-fiction, and her writing has appeared in The Nation, Granta, Freeman's, Africa is a Country, Die Zeit, and Le Monde Diplomatique, among many others. Born in Khartoum, Sudan, Fatin fled Omar al-Bashir's dictatorship as a child, and together with her family ended up in New York, where her mother worked for the UN. Fatin studied literature at Cambridge and later earned a doctorate in comparative literature at Harvard. A PhD is commonly considered the highest academic degree, but not for Fatin. She went on to obtain another degree, an MFA in creative writing from Hunter College. She now teaches writing herself at MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Some of you in the audience may remember that Fatin has also taught at Bard College Berlin. Her courses included African narratives of migration from colonialism to globalization and narrative nonfiction. For a couple of summers, she also taught in the Language and Thinking program. Those were very lucky students, and lucky colleagues too. Yesterday, I was going through some old L&T lesson plans on which Fatin and I worked together with Florian Dawsons, and I found one in which we connected Grada Kilomba, Mickey Blanco, Zoe Leonard, and Zayar Lin. It was such a good session, one of many. We also made L&T playlists together, and I remember vividly that it was Fatin all those years ago who introduced me to Little Sims. I'm still a fan. I'm glad that Little Sims is getting a shout out. Fatin moved to Berlin about a decade ago and has been living here on and off ever since. I say on and off because not only does Fatin glamorously divide her time between Berlin and Boston, she is also frequently invited to artists and writers' residencies. When I pick up my phone to ask if she has time to meet for a coffee or a walk, I'm prepared that Fatin may respond that she is just on her way to a Swiss village, or upstate New York, or the Finnish woods, or a castle in southern Germany. It is at those residencies that she does much of her amazing writing. Fatin's novel, Ghost Season, was published by Norton in 2023, and a year later in German by Rowohlt as Zeit der Geister in Bernhard Robin's translation. Set in a small town between northern and southern Sudan, the novel explores the porous and perilous nature of borders and the profound consequences for those who cross them. Fatin imbues her characters with so much life, so much complexity, that it's difficult to part ways with them when the novel ends. Just as impressively, Fatin describes what is often deemed indescribable, extreme violence. Because of the cruel realities it depicts, the novel is not an easy read. But as writer Maza Mengiste notes in her review, Fatin reminds us that quote, "Beyond the debris of war and displacement rests something else that can never be truly extinguished, hope," end quote. Earlier this year, the Venice-based publishing house Wetlands Books brought out Fatin's first collection of essays entitled Black Time, Scritti sul Invisibile, translated into Italian by Paolo Bassotti. The book soon will also be available in English. Here's a sneak peek from the publisher's description. In the succession of streets, islands, churches, and exhibitions, Venice becomes a portal through which Fatin Abbas reflects on today's major issues, from power relations between the global North and South to war and genocide, from patriarchy to our relationship with nature and the environment, from cosmopolitanism to the trenches of migration, dwelling in particular on the meaning of time in its different geographical and cultural nuances. A book that takes us with limpid and light step into the thinking of a new generation. If, like me, you can't wait to read this book, I recommend that you read or reread Blood Veins, Fatin's essay in the latest issue of the Berlin Review. In it, Fatin weaves her family history into the history of Sudan, illuminating the colonial, imperialist, and patriarchal legacies that underpin what is today the largest humanitarian crisis in the world. She writes, quote, "Given the apathy of the international community, the silence around Sudan in mainstream Western news media, a violent geopolitical situation featuring the war in Ukraine and a genocide in Gaza, not to mention the rise of far-right governments everywhere, it's difficult to feel hopeful," end quote. But she does find it, hope. She finds it, for instance, quote, "in the efforts on the ground, such as the emergency response rooms and community kitchens organized by grassroots groups and citizens that have supported and fed countless civilians through the war," end quote. As for me, I find hope in Fatin's work, in her commitment to a storytelling that opens up entire worlds and affirms boldly the possibilities of resistance and survival in these darkest times. Please join me in warmly welcoming to the stage Fatin Abbas.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. It's a real honor and a pleasure to be with you here today. Thank you to Agata for this very generous introduction. I have really fond memories of my time teaching at Bard College, Berlin, and deeply connected with the wonderful students I met here. It's the most international student body I've ever taught, and so I felt very much at home. And I want to start off by congratulating the class of 2025 today. You've made it through 4 years of classes, deadlines, obligations, challenges, established new friendships and relationships, and you've grown in so many ways. It's a huge accomplishment and amazing that you're ready to set forth into the wider world, so huge congratulations again. When I thought about what I wanted to say to you at this commencement, my mind, of course, kept going to the state of the world right now and to thinking about solidarity and to thinking about home. Maybe home is on my mind because recently my mother sent me a video from Khartoum, Sudan, my city of birth. It's a video of my grandfather's house. Someone had managed to enter the house for the first time in 2 years. It's also the first time any of us have gotten a glimpse of the house since the beginning of the most recent war in Sudan, which started in April 2023 and which was instigated by 2 generals and is armed and funded by outside powers. The neighborhood the house sits in had been occupied by militia forces at the beginning of the war. The video shows my grandfather's house ransacked and destroyed. The wardrobes are emptied. The furniture is turned upside down. The windows are smashed in. The roof is collapsing over the kitchen. The trees in the garden are dead. A refrigerator is stuck half tumbled down a staircase. Everything has been looted or stripped, even the cables from the electricity box under the stairs. Of course, my family is one of the very lucky ones because my aunts, uncles, and cousins who lived in the house managed to get out of the country at the beginning of the war. But seeing my grandfather's house destroyed also left its mark, because this is the one house that existed in a stable way throughout my life and that I always thought I'd be able to return to. In fact, my grandfather's house was the first house to shelter my mother, my sisters, and I when my father, a political activist, was detained in prison when I was a child. My father was arrested in the summer of 1989, when I was 7 years old, at the beginning of Omar al-Bashir's dictatorship. His prison term led to a chain of displacements for us. First, we were forced to leave the house we lived in because it was faculty housing owned by the state university where my father worked, and the dictatorship that arrested him also fired him, and so we were evicted from the house. Which is why we ended up moving into my grandfather's house, the first house of refuge for us. And then we had to leave the country altogether. My father was lucky to have been released from prison after a year unharmed, but my parents decided it wasn't a good idea to risk staying. And so we ended up in the US. And then there were a string of homes in different places: Cairo for a little while, the United Kingdom, the US again, and now here, Berlin. That's meant that for me, as for so many other people, home has always felt transitory, uncertain, and fleeting, even if my grandfather's house was the one place I could always go back to. Because home was so unsettled when I was growing up, I had to find new shelters. I found a home in books and literature. I found home in beginning my sentences in Arabic and ending them in English. I discovered home in art. And when I was 18, I discovered home at university. I still remember the apprehension with which I arrived at Downing College, Cambridge, in the UK when I was 18, and the anxiety with which I asked my dorm neighbor, Sam, if she wanted to go to the supermarket with me to stock up on supplies. Despite my fears, I clicked with my fellows almost instantly. There was something about the physical space of the college and the university itself, the communal rooms, the gardens, the lecture halls, which opened up space for contact, connection, and communion. Living in the dorms with Sam and my other housemates, I felt that I'd found a family outside of the one I'd been born into. Gathering in a classroom with my cohort to discuss books, or sharing meals in the dining hall, or hanging out on the college lawns on a warm, sunny spring day, I felt a profound sense of belonging. The professors who exposed me to new ideas and perspectives, who mentored me, who believed in me and cheered me on, helped me grow in ways that transformed me forever. College gave me not only a new sense of myself and my own potential, it gave me a new sense of home. I had never, outside my own family, felt more that I belonged, that I was valued, that I was made room for, that I was embraced and encouraged in spite of my complexity, as I did during my college years. But back when I was in college in the early 2000s, more than 20 years ago now, times were also very different. No pandemic had disrupted my high school or university years. No far-right governments were on the rise globally. Economic inequality was nowhere near the levels it has reached over the last decades. Climate change was happening, of course, but we hadn't yet reached the point of existential crisis we're facing today. Artificial intelligence didn't yet exist and wasn't on the brink of taking everyone's jobs. Even smartphones didn't exist yet, nor did online social media platforms that manipulated the thoughts of millions. This is not to say that the world was perfect back in the early 2000s. My college years were marked by 9/11, by the beginning of George Bush's war on terror, by a genocide in the states of Darfur in Western Sudan, also perpetrated by the Bashir dictatorship. Even so, it seems to me that while the seeds were already being sown back then, today we have really reached a point of crisis. The world you're facing feels very different and much bleaker. I'm sure I'm not the only one here who is deeply disturbed by the state of things right now. And the state of things seems to me to be intimately connected to who is and who is not allowed to be at home. So many today, especially in the global south, are not allowed to be at home in their bodies, with their families, in their houses, on their land, in their neighborhoods, in their schools and universities, or in their countries. In Sudan, 14 million people have lost their homes over the last 2 years of war, not to mention the hundreds of thousands who have also died. And with the loss of home comes the inability to eat, or to find shelter, or to access healthcare. And while the numbers give a sense of the scale of the suffering, it's the glimpses of the daily tragedies that really disturb me. Recently, I read about a child in Khartoum who was killed over a falafel sandwich. I read about another 9-year-old boy who was crossing the desert with his mother from Sudan to Egypt to escape the war. On the way, they ran out of water. He told his mother, quote, "Mother, when we get to Egypt, I want a cold glass of water." He died before they arrived in Egypt. In Ukraine, we're still watching the Russian invasion unfold. In Gaza, we're watching a genocide live-streamed before our eyes, funded and armed by the US and Germany primarily. And in Germany and the US, people are being threatened with deportation in a bid to punish them by uprooting them from their homes because of their political views or their migration status. The question that has been at the top of my mind over the last 2 years, therefore, is how to go on when so much is wrong with the world? What to do when faced with so much bleakness? What does home mean in the face of so much violence and inequality and injustice and destruction? And here I must turn to you all because I found the most inspiring answers coming from young people like yourselves. I can't tell you how moved and amazed I've been by the courage of all you students who've been leading the movement for Palestine, getting arrested in the US and Germany, and risking deportation. Young people who have been connecting the dots between the different violences of today, the violence of colonialism, the violence of capitalism, the violence of climate change. Young people who have been linking Congo to Sudan, to Palestine and other places. You've been giving up your privileges, putting yourselves at risk to stand in solidarity with those who are weaker and more vulnerable than yourselves, those who are at risk of being made homeless or countryless or even lifeless. And in that sense, you've all been building a home that is even more open and embracing than the one I was so grateful to discover when I was a little younger than you entering university. The student encampments that have been so maligned by politicians and news media and so violently dismantled, in fact, embody a vision of a home that is broader and more inclusive than the ivory tower of the university or the closed gates of Fortress Europe. The university, in the end, is a space of immense privilege. Those tents of the encampments both mirror and recall the homelessness of so many people around the world, but they also embody the idea that it is always possible to make more room. It is always possible to open up more space. It is always possible to provide more shelter and to share and to stand in solidarity. In Sudan, it was also young people like yourselves, teenagers, youth, and college students who led the revolution that toppled the dictator Omar al-Bashir from power 6 years ago in 2019. Sudan is an extremely young country. 61% of the population is under the age of 25. It is these young people who set up encampments and sit-ins in Khartoum and other cities, places where the poor gathered with the well-off, where those from marginalized regions and ethnic groups gathered with those from the center, where women gathered with men. These encampments also became places where new possibilities were imagined and enacted, spaces where women were equal with men in defiance of 30 years of Islamist rule that especially oppressed women, spaces where food and medical care were provided for free to those who needed them and couldn't afford them, spaces where art and music and poetry became the bedrock of community. The youth who set up these encampments were born into dictatorship and had never experienced democracy in their life, but they still managed to imagine an idea of a national home that included the poor, the displaced, the discriminated against, the dispossessed, and the hungry. And while the current war in Sudan seems to have demolished that beautiful vision of a home that these young people dreamt up and fought so hard to build, in fact, this vision still lives on and is their legacy and is the blueprint for the future. So I'd like to end by reminding you all that it's really a dream to be here at home in Bard College, Berlin, given what's happening in the world outside. You're very lucky to be here. You are only here for a short while. But in the college's gathering rooms, in its dorms and lecture halls, and most importantly, in those scrawny encampments that your generation dreamt up and built, there's a framework for a home that is wide and welcoming and ample enough to shelter everyone. I have great faith in your vision and your courage. I'm very excited for the homes that you will imagine and build for the future. You're on the right path and you're showing the way. So onwards, thank you.
Thank you so very much, Fatin. It is now my really, really great honor to introduce the two speakers who will give the student address. Miyu Sasaki and Sarah Rassem. Both of them are not only excellent speakers, but fantastic writers, thinkers, and outstanding human beings. This is shown in their respective thesis projects. Sarah wrote the thesis, "Who is the city for anymore? The impact of urban transformation on civil and political life in Egypt's Alexandria and NAC." I talked to her thesis advisor, Dr. Nassim Abihanem, and he praised her with the following words, I quote, "Diligence and commitment set a high standard for her success, while her critical thinking ensured that she approached challenges with depth and insight. Sarah balances empathy and conviction, making her both an effective mediator and a steadfast advocate for freedom and democracy. Her ability to engage in dialogue and uphold principles reflects not just her intellectual pursuits, but also her moral integrity," end quote. Miyu's thesis, entitled "The Ominous in the Mundane: The Entrapment of Daily Life in Rachel Cusk's Arlington Park," was equally praised by her advisor, Professor Laura Scuriati. She said, and I quote again, "Miyu's love for literature shines through all her work. A kind of love that does not stop at beauty or aesthetic matters, but that prompts her to explore social and political matters that should be the concern of us all, with an uncommon sensibility for details. Her openness to listening and learning from others, to dialogue and discussion, always underlined with politeness, attention, and respect, is a mirror of her profoundly ethical commitment to living in a community," end quote. And all of that was also confirmed by your peers. I've also talked to a few of them. Open, friendly, always available to talk, and extremely hardworking. You will see a result of this hard work since I know that Sarah is involved in organizing the after-grad party. And I know that everyone is looking forward to that. Right now, we are looking forward to hearing from the both of you. Please don't be shy and come here on stage.
Dear class of 2025, after 4 long and very harsh years, we made it.
First of all, let me begin by saying that our journey has been made possible through all the support from many, many people. The members of faculty, staff, and the board of governors, and others who supported the environment in which we could challenge ourselves, and especially family and friends who stood by us throughout the journey, some of whom are here right now, and some of whom are far away. To all these people, we are grateful beyond words. As I stand here, I remember the first weeks at BCB, when we had just arrived from all over the world and when we still had our masks on. It makes me feel so proud of us all, who are all here as graduating students, as independent thinkers, writers, readers, and speakers with a journey of 4 years behind us.
The version of me that first arrived here never thought that one day she'd be longing for family guidance or for just someone to take care of her again. Back then, I was excited to finally be on my own. And when I made it through Berlin's complicated, ugly, and unreliable transportation system all by myself, I thought I'm unstoppable. But little did I know, turns out just by existing, just by being, was enough of a reason to be stopped, questioned, and doubted. I thought I was here to discover myself and to live freely, but I quickly learned that freedom isn't just handed to everyone equally, and that for some of us, proving that we belong is a daily task. I thought leaving home meant leaving behind limitations. I thought I was running away from what I didn't like, only to realize I just never gave it the chance to be seen through a different lens, one that I hold right now. It didn't take long before I was aching to go back, because only after I left did I begin to understand what home really means. It's not just a place. It's love, it's comfort, and it's being understood without having to explain yourself. And in Germany, I had to explain myself a lot. I discovered that real support only reveals itself in moments of hardship. I learned that speaking the same language doesn't mean we're on the same side. I learned that what I thought was right and wrong is not universally true, that morality isn't fixed, that truths are many and sometimes contradictory. So I had to listen, I had to critique, I had to unlearn and relearn. I had to understand that empathy is a luxury not everyone is afforded, and that some of us are expected to constantly justify our pain in order to receive it. Being here forced me to see how the world sees me. Stamped on me is the other, and for the first time, I realized I wasn't just representing myself anymore. I began to carry the weight of being reduced to an idea, a region, a struggle, and having to keep proving myself. But maybe it's not about proving anything at all. Maybe it's about living with integrity, about showing up with empathy, and about using the voice we've found, not just for ourselves, but for everyone who's still struggling to feel seen. Because in the end, I didn't just come here to discover who I am. I came here to understand where I belong in this world and how I can use that position to represent not just myself, but a collective of people who know what it means to be on the outside looking in, who know that there is no perfect place, who know that belonging isn't given but is built.
On our campus, this sense of collective was part of daily life. Living on campus for all 4 years meant that my evenings were often a dinner conversation with my flatmates, which included, in one go, a heated discussion about whose cuisine was the best, or a spontaneous Arabic lesson, and sharing experiences of systemic racism and social disparities. Immerse daily life and politics and cultures into one, which, as much as it was sometimes very challenging, is just as well, because daily life is never, ever separate from the context which surrounds it. It was this collective which made me realize that I had been so ignorant of many issues in the society I grew up in and in the wider world, partly because of my privileges, partly simply because I was young and naive. Coming here gave me the time, space, resources, and people I could talk to start the never-ending journey of learning and trying to understand. Along the way, I learned that if I'm not angry, that's because I'm not seeing the existing violences and discrimination and injustices in the world, that I have not yet seen and understood them, or that I'm facing away.
This would have sounded strange to me before I came to BCB, but in this space, I have come to understand that meaningful models for justice and community do not have to come from Europe or the West. BCB pushed me to look inward. It made me curious about the culture I grew up in, one I realized that I barely knew. I discovered a side of myself that wants to write in Arabic and read philosophy and engage with thinkers from beyond the Western canon.
And And as we discovered that side of the world and ourselves, we learned to fight injustices, to criticize, and to speak up. At the same time, I think it is very fair to say that it is a particularly tough time to be growing up. We do know that every generation has had its concerns, but it is also true that our 4 years have been a turbulent time.
Our 4 years at BCB have been marked by so many challenges, as has been mentioned before. We came to Berlin in the middle of the pandemic. 2 ongoing major wars started while we were here, and the far-right and conservative governments have risen, among other events. If I start talking about all the violence, hatred, and injustices that are going on right now, I will never stop speaking. And even with that, I know I'm not doing anyone or myself justice. But allow me to just say that what we are seeing today is unprecedented. Some say history repeats itself, but it's not just our youth that makes it feel like this is the first time. It's the fact that the whole world is watching. This is the 21st century. We have widespread access to technology, communication, and education. We are more aware than ever, and no one can claim ignorance anymore. We are all watching as a population in Gaza is being annihilated through ethnic cleansing, forced starvation, and genocide. In the West Bank, we are witnessing de facto annexation. Entire villages and neighborhoods destroyed, displacing tens of thousands. We are all watching as the people of Sudan are being violently displaced, where war crimes and sexual violence are rampant, and foreign interests are fueling the conflict. We see in the Congo that utter destruction of humanity, where thousands labor in slave-like conditions to produce the minerals that power our phones, our laptops, and TVs, while violence is pushed by internal and external actors competing for wealth that leaves people in poverty. And let's be clear, we are all complicit in this. In Syria, we witnessed the glimmer of hope for a free, democratic future, while at the same time, Israeli occupation continues on Syrian land. Bombings persist, with Israeli, American, Iranian, and Turkish interferences pushing the country toward further devastation. In Yemen, people are getting bombed in the name of fighting the enemy. In Ukraine, entire cities are being leveled by Russian missiles. Thousands of lives are being lost, and large parts of the country are made uninhabitable. And yet, while the West stands firmly behind Ukraine in its defense of sovereignty, those of us from other parts of the world cannot ignore the grotesque double standards that surround us. The selective outrage, the selective solidarity. It's impossible not to see it, and it's impossible not to feel betrayed. In today's political climate, I find myself wondering what anti-Semitism even means. Because I thought I was included, no? I come from a Semitic people, yet I'm not recognized as such. And that erasure is not accidental, it is intentional. It disconnects centuries of European bigotry against both Arabs and Jews, and it allows the silencing of voices to continue. When I speak out, I'm told I'm anti myself. My critique of a government's actions becomes a condemnation of an entire people, a people who are so much more than a state. But let me remind you that these standards don't apply when Western governments are critiqued, nor when Arab, African, Asian, or Latin American states are under scrutiny.
Let it be clear, the time we are living through is not just a repeat of the past. It is a moment of reckoning, and whether we choose to speak up or stay silent, we're part of it. In these 4 years, we had to re-examine what it means to be human, seeing eye to eye. We had to learn how to communicate our feelings, beliefs, and politics through closed-off spaces that are not allowing us to just be. We witnessed each other's realities crumble. We witnessed each other's pain and found ways to find happiness among all the pain we are surrounded by. With all these things happening, there is no longer any place where we can take our rights to speak up for granted. It is no longer possible to pretend that the right to exist is a given. We struggle to answer the urgent questions as people graduating today. Where do we fit exactly in this world now? What is our role as young people graduating now and going into the wider world at a time like this?
Amid these uncertainties, one thing becomes clear. We are a generation of resilience and faith in tomorrow. Because if that hope and faith did not exist, we wouldn't be still standing here today, still speaking up and trying to create a safer space for tomorrow. We have seen students all over the world stand up to speak up against injustices. It is students and young people joining hands and risking their lives, risking their immigrant status, some risking families and safe lifestyles to speak up for what they believe is basic human rights. It is students who are changing the narratives so that the unheard voices gain attention and occupy spaces to resist and turn them into their own, no matter how much institutions try to suppress their voices.
While many of us called for solidarity on the streets, many also did so in the classroom and on campus on a personal level among each other. We did not stop discussing, bringing our knowledge to the community, leading workshops, sharing stories, and allowing each other to feel pain and empowering each other. The nature of a liberal arts education was at the core of this, in my opinion. In the classroom, we often discussed things that seemed far away in the past, and our perspectives were also always wide-ranging. From this, we learned to not just ask questions, but to listen to each other, even when, especially when, our views differ. When the situation of the world felt so dire, reading a poem or looking into a minute detail of a painting sometimes felt like I was looking away from reality. Nevertheless, if I learned anything as an arts and literature student here, it is that a poem, a novel, or a painting is what reminds us of why we still keep going. The art is beauty and humanity crystallized, and that it is precisely how people have always told their stories. To read and look at art is to look into the past, tackle the present, and consider the future. In whatever way we might choose to tell our stories from now on, art will always be a reason to still go on despite it all.
Storytelling is as personal and collective as it is political. I'm leaving with so much more confidence and courage to take on any challenge. And now that I really know who I am, I'm sure that it's not just me, but that we all feel that way. We are all leaving with a lot of growth and empowerment. This growth and confidence exists because of the long nights we stayed up working and writing, the times we cooked together to heal, or the times where we came together and started a student union to create a space where we can raise our voices and take a stance as a community. The excursions we went on to learn about something that might have seemed like it's far from us in real life, but you never know how everything is somehow connected at BCB. We went through the personal struggles while sharing a bigger journey together. Each with our own story to tell had a role to play in everyone else's story. That's what makes this place a journey, and a very special journey, because we really are all connected, and not just through our education.
Of course, college life is a bubble, which doesn't reflect the society as a whole necessarily. But it is a place where we sought to make each other feel safe and heard.
Only because of BCB did I realize what makes home a home. It's not about geography and it's not about blood or language, but it's the shared understanding of morality and humanity, of what it means to be in a place where you feel comfortable and safe in, people you share a laugh and a cry with.
Here, we've had the space to learn and were urged to question, to argue, and to criticize, as well as to listen to different voices. We will not stop doing it now. Forced silence does not take away from the truth. Students and academics resisting is proof of what we have become and an antonym to fear.
Only here did I begin to appreciate my differences and see them as a weapon for peace. Being a hybrid being is a strength, and here at BCB specifically, we are all hybrid because this place makes us so. All different from what we know, makes us all critical of everything and makes us see everything through 1,000 lenses. We do not just take one position, but acknowledge and take all positions. We don't just criticize other positions, we criticize ourselves first, and the beliefs of ours, and then others. And this is why we are here, and this is the generation that can make a change. We can see sympathy and empathy behind faces. We see through hate, we see through injustice, and our experience changes everything.
We leave this place today where we learn to be ourselves. Our path from here will not be easy. It will be a struggle for each of us to find our own place in the world. But we will not be afraid of the new and the different. We already made a choice to be away from home for many of us, and to go through an education which did not give us machine-like efficiency or something that can be counted in numbers, but which taught us to value what is slow and complex, but meaningful and vital: humanity and empathy, the listening ear and the writing hand.
So to the class of 2025, let's stay true to ourselves. Keep embracing our differences, keep resisting, and never stop speaking up. Never stop trying, and never stop hoping. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Miyu and Sarah. Another round of applause. Hello, everyone. My name is Dorothea von Hantelmann. I'm the Associate Dean of the College and the Director of the Arts Program. It's a great pleasure and an honor to introduce today's musical act, Ali ATH. Ali is widely recognized as a pioneer of Afghan hip-hop, and rightly so. He has released multiple albums and singles. He produced hundreds of songs for other artists. He performed numerous times on national Afghan television, as well as in front of thousands live. Notably, Ali was the first artist in Afghanistan to distribute music on an international scale. At the same time, Ali is more than a musician and a producer. During his time at BCB, he completed a film that serves both as a biographical portrait and a documentary on hip-hop culture in Afghanistan. As Ali puts it, when people ask if I'm a rapper, producer, or filmmaker, I've come to realize that above all, I'm a storyteller. I'll continue to share my stories through whatever medium feels right. Music, however, has always been at the heart of Ali's journey. He began composing and producing at just 15 years old, using a computer his parents bought by taking out a loan. For Ali, music is more than just sound. It's a means of expression, empowerment, and social change, advocating for human rights. His work reflects the struggles of everyday life, particularly in Afghanistan, where the lack of human rights, corruption, and the fight for freedom deeply affect him and fellow artists. Throughout his trajectory, Ali's music has openly criticized the Taliban's actions, condemning violence against civilians. His songs have been played at demonstrations against the Taliban regime, both before and after they seized power. When the Taliban took control in 2021 and almost unimaginably banned music, it became impossible for Ali and his peers to continue their art. He made several attempts to flee the country, facing deportations from Turkey once and Iran twice. After 10 months, he finally obtained a humanitarian visa to Germany. However, restarting his career was anything but straightforward. When he first met with a job center in Germany, he introduced himself as a musician, only to be told, "I ask for your profession, not your hobby." Initially placed as an asylum center, Ali spent his days learning German and his nights working in a warehouse, all while continuing to record and release music. In 2023, he performed for 300 Afghans in Erfurt, Germany, publicly opposing the Taliban. In early 2024, he showcased a preview of his latest documentary project at the Deutsches Filminstitut und Filmmuseum in Frankfurt. This screening helped 5 other musicians featured in the documentary expedite their humanitarian visa applications. Ali joined Bard College Berlin in September 2024 as an artist in residence and fellow of the Artist Protection Fund. I had the privilege of supporting his documentary project, which includes powerful footage from Kabul and highlights Ali's unwavering dedication to his music, to, as the title of his film suggests, the band beats. Today, I'm thrilled that we get to finally experience Ali's live performance. Dear class of 2025, dear colleagues, dear members of the Board of Governors, dear families, dear BCB community, please join me in giving a very warm welcome to Ali ATH.
Let's go. And also, if you want to stand up and enjoy yourself, don't hesitate. Yeah. Cool. Yo. تا بکی کنم در قصه مفتل خوش مانده بین دو راهی که برم یا نه تا بکی برش بخوانم که بته گوش میگن میرسه به گوشش خدا مهربانه تا بکی آرامشم باشم در جست و جوش نیافته چیزی چون دائم زندگی شبانه است تا بکی کنم دل خوش به گفت و گوش که بگن بر موفقیت دبانه به منی مثل سپری زندگی در خریت بگذری از سک صفتی که هست در بطریت ببری حساب از کسی که نصف شرف در خونشو به منطق مگذری ازش میگی دارم مدنیت دبانه سر شانه های انداختن هزار تا بار زمانه ولی که بانه باشی باز آزاد در خانه عاقلانه است باشی به عهد دنیا از ناعاقلانه خواهان بارانی باش میای خدا مهربان حال من بد کرده زندگی با ترس عشق بی مشروق و عقل بی منطق خانه لوکسری خرید با خرج رمز نامرموز جنگ بی همشه خوامی تو بطرم قانون دنیاست بردگی با رو بردگی با جسم بالی تو چند دقیقه خالق خود با شرط بی مشروط و شکل بی همشه مگم فرق داره دید تو با دید من شاید باشه کار خوبم در دید تو بد من میگم نسب به پولی تعریف فقر تو میزنی ایگه پای من به حساب جهل تا بکی کنم در قصه مفتل خوش مانده بین دو راهی که برم یا نه تا بکی برش بخوانم که بته گوش میگن میرسه به گوشش خدا مهربانه تا بکی آرامشم باشم در جست و جوش نیافتم چیزی چون دائم زندگیم شبانه است تا بکی کنم دل خوش به گفت و گوش که بگن بر موفقیت دبانه چقدر داریم مهاجر مسافر خارج از این خاک ظاهر پاک داخل منافق نامده خارج بره کار یادش نسابق در ایران نمیشد قدم زد در پارکال با رفتار نابالغ شدن دلیل چندین نمیماند در بدن انرژی بره ادامه زندگی سخت است در وطن باز ترجمه‌تن ادامه نمیگم انتخابم چیز نکردم هیچ وقت ادامه برای کی بجنگم برای کی کنم جان ادامه دل به کی ببندم ها زندگی و پایدار دوم فکر میکردم از تو ماخل ولی ثابت شد دست نادان باز به کی بخندن ها آشناهای من باز راندم فکر میکردن از تو غافل ولی ذهنشان باز خواندم مقصد شو هدف کن سرعت را مثل حلزون درکت کو عقلت کو باور نکو به هر هزیون در هر جنگ فقط خون برای دفاع از خاک و مجروح FBI و تلفن دارن میکشن اصل بدتر از بمب تا بکی کنم در قصه مفتل خوش مانده بین دو راهی که برم یا نه تا بکی برش بخوانم که بته گوش میگن میرسه به گوشش خدا مهربانه تا بکی آرامشم باشم در جست و جوش نیافتم چیزی چون دائم زندگیم شبانه است تا بکی کنم دل خوش به گفت و گوش که بگن بر موفقیت دبانه سر شانه های انداختن هزار تا بار زمانه ولی که بانه باشی باز آزاد در خانه عاقلانه است باشی به عقل دنیا از ناعاقلانه خواهان بارانی باش میای خدا مهربانه علی ATH Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm so mad because you don't understand the lyrics. Yeah, but let's go. Oh. This song of mine has almost 1 million views. In Afghanistan, that converts into 100. So let's not talk about that. Ali ATH. روز بروز بشه درد روز افزون، شخص مظلوم میشه اصل مضمون، مردمم شدن درگیر حاشیه و کم کم فراموش میشه اصل موضوع، تبدیل شدن همه دوستایم به دشمن، ضریب شخصیت شدن موبایل هوشمند، برای من داشتن مادیات رنجه ولی نزدیکترین کس مادیات سنجه. بشنوم روزی 100 تا کنایه، حتی برادرم داره ازم 100 تا گلایه که چرا نیست اسباب زینتی در خانه، آبروی ما میره چون حاجی فلانی مهمانه. زن حاجی شروع کرد به مقایسه، از فرش بگی تا سقف بالای سر، ولی از این موضوع گذشتم راحت چون فرقی بین ماست، پول دارا خوبن و ما بد. من از اشتو که چانس نداشتم، خدا با من مقایسه نکن تو خوبی و ما بد. من پدرم کارمند است ولی پدر تو میلیونر تو خوبی و ما بد. من لباسم ساخت چین و از تو مارک دیور چون تو خوبی و ما بد. تفریحم سالی یک بار غرق است ولی از تو اروپا چون تو خوبی و ما بد. Come on, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. تو خوبی و ما بد. Yeah, yeah. ما و تو بین خود داریم زیاد تفاوت، عدالت اجتماعی و این گپا کجا بود؟ تو 30 سالت شده و دست دجه به پدرت از پدر میگیری میندازی دجه به نفری. من نه پشم نفری و نه پشتم نفره، دارم ترس از قانون تو میخری اوزرم. ما میریم سر کار 6 روز از دفتره، هرچند دفتر داری میری فقط شنبره. بر خود داری یک نور ریاست، ما به تو نمیرسیم تو خوبی و ما بد. بر نان میکشم 100 نور ریاست، تو از سوپ نان میخوری چون تو خوبی و ما بد. از فرق کردم ترک تحصیل، تو دکترا داری چون تو خوبی و ما بد. تو را میبینم میرم تحت تاثیر، تو ما را نمیبینی تو خوبی و ما بد. من از اشتو که چانس نداشتم، خدا با من مقایسه نکن تو خوبی و ما بد. من پدرم کارمند است ولی پدر تو میلیونر تو خوبی و ما بد. من لباسم ساخت چین و از تو مارک دیور چون تو خوبی و ما بد. تفریحم سالی یک بار غرق است ولی از تو اروپا چون تو خوبی و ما بد. Yeah, 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 yeah. Put your hands together for class of 2025. I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous. Thank you, thank you. The song was about capitalism. Okay, okay, okay. How do you feel? I feel good, I feel good. 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 زندگی دیجیتالی، آنلاینیم از بکاری، پشت پشت کن پست و عکس و بعد بکو برای یک کامنت خاری. فرق نداره باشه پستایت از شکست عشقی یا کامل کاری. مردم همه به مضمون، کل عقدم میشه در کامنت خالی. همه پنهان پشت اکانت فیک، متنفر از ظاهر شخصی. عکسان میشه در فوتوشاپ فیکس، نمانده در بین اعتماد به نفسی. بگیری یکس بکو زاویه را جور، سر بالا بگی شکم داخل. میندازی هزاران ثانیه را دور، سر اف بی تا ببره خوابت. معطل موبایل و معتاد دوپامین، مصرف مواد نمحتاج دوتاسی. میتانی آنلاین باشی مولاد دوتادین، محتادی نشی بازم تبدیل به دوتامیم. همزمان همه هستم مجرم و قاضی، جمعیت دوستارا قصه بسازی. واقعی الا شدیم وقف مجازی، زندگی خراب میتیم صرف خدا بازی. این قسمی میتیم صرف خدا بازی. کابل میشه حالی بود، سال گذشته مالی بود، یک کم جنجالی بود ولی بازم میگم I feel good. Say it. I feel good, I feel good. 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 میبینم خود در آینه و کوشش میکنم خود ما باین تو. اعتماد به نفسم بالاست، باید خود ما باد نتم. یک تایم فیتنس و یک تایم فوتبال، یک سال نیست هستم هر سال. هر شب بیدار تا صبح بر خودم است و مختار میخوابم همش با ازار چین دارم عظمت مثل دیوار چین میکنن مستی همش در غیابم وقتی من استم چرا آرام بشید میگیرم تصمیمو میکنم عملی نمیفهمم چی از هورمون و ژن دارم پشت برده خون و دی ان ای یا مچ و مستخوان و بیولوژی هرچند کله خالی بود ولی روزای مکتب عالی بود یکم بخاری بود ولی بازم میگم I feel good. Say it. I feel good. I feel good. I feel good. Honestly, I don't feel good. Go, 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 go. Yeah, I feel good. I feel good. You guys don't feel good. Come on. I feel good. Thank you so much. I'm Ali. Bye-bye.
I have the pleasure of acknowledging some special accomplishments in this year's graduating class. With a round of applause, I'd like to recognize the first graduate of Bard College Berlin's new BA program in Artistic Practice and Society, Celeste Lucci. Each year, Bard College Berlin selects one winner for the DAAD Prize, sponsored by the German Academic Exchange Service. This award is given to an outstanding international student with an excellent academic record, who also, through civic and campus involvement, demonstrates engagement and responsibility towards their community. With a round of applause, I'd like to recognize Muhammad Faraz Sadiq. In the past few weeks, a busy committee has been hard at work to select this year's Senior Thesis Prize winners. I'd like to thank the selection committee, Berit Ebert, Nassim Abighanem, Dorothea von Hantelmann, and Susan Gillespie for their many hours of reading. And on behalf of the committee, I'm happy to announce the two winners. I would like to invite to the stage this year's Senior Thesis Prize winner in the Humanities, Arts, and Social Thought program, Gali Hargil. Gali's thesis is titled The Political Trigger Points of Theater, Challenging Collective Memory on Stage. Gali's thesis focuses on two plays, The Investigation by Peter Weiss and The Jerusalem Syndrome by Joshua Sobel. It investigates the underlying causes of public uproar, focusing on the specific trigger points addressed by the plays and the subsequent socio-political effects they provoked in their respective contexts. In the words of one of the readers, this thesis ultimately invites broader questions of historical judgment, memory, and moral responsibility, challenging simplistic binaries of victim and perpetrator and reinforcing the importance of theater as a space for complexity and discomfort, which can enable public discourse. Congratulations, Gali. Stay there. I would now like to invite to the stage this year's Senior Thesis Prize winner in the Economics, Politics, and Social Thought program, Frosina Kakanovska. Frosina's thesis investigates the drivers of youth emigration in Macedonia, in particular, the interplay of economic dissatisfaction and institutional distrust. Through a survey-based analysis of young adults aged 16 to 30, the research uses descriptive statistics patterns and regression analysis to assess migration intentions. The findings reveal that both economic conditions, such as wage disparities and limited career opportunities, and institutional factors, including low trust in governance and perceptions of corruption, significantly influence the decision to emigrate. The thesis highlights the need for holistic strategies that address both economic and governance challenges to retain human capital. Congratulations, Frosina.
Dear class of 2025, on behalf of all the faculty, the staff, the Board of Governors, and all of our guests here today, congratulations on your extraordinary achievement. It has been a pleasure for all of us to see the works that you've produced at the culmination of your studies at Bard College Berlin, spanning such a range of fields and concerns, and showing, as ever, a powerful interest in change and transformation. It's been an honor to meet you and to see you pursue your path of study in your years at the college. This is why we keep talking and making speeches at you, because we are reluctant to let you go. But the moment has arrived. For the awarding of the diplomas, I would like to invite to the stage two special guests at this year's ceremony: Anne-Kathrin Blankenberg, Professor of Economics, Anne-Kathrin began her tenure at BCB in the year when you all started university. And Ton Toy, Managing Director of Bard College Berlin, who's based at Bard College Annandale. Someone else who's played no small part in steering you through your studies, the co-registrar of the college, Mohammed Ali Godes. And Momo will call each of you to the stage to receive your diploma.
Dua Al-Thawr, Haneen Bargawi, Cosmabolis, Maya Calleja Scott, Gabriela Cangusu dos Santos, Elena Chiavazza Prieto, Zaiki Chubukchuolu, Evangelia Ray Chloe Dalton, Ava de Bulbur, Yasmin El Hafidi, congrats. Arya Haji Osmanovic, Rita Hamida, Charles Hamilton, the steps. Congratulations. Gali Hargil, Lex Hill, Missy Hochfliet,
Thank you. Yeah.
Michelle Jovanovska. Congratulations. Annika Hee Yeonjun, Julia. Frosina Kekanowska. Chaya Kimball. Rowdy Christian Cram. Simone Kyle. Clara Lieber. Celeste Lucci. Meredith Lynch. Emma Moore McGilvray. Athena Maria Manu. Martin McHugh. Luna Miccoli. Diana Milieva,
Thank you.
Bruno Munoz Oropesa, Abdullah Nasir, Lovis Paul, herzlichen Glückwunsch. Dankeschön. Sabrina Pierce, Sophia Polak, Vasko Popchevaliev, Congrats. Sarah Rassem, Muhammad Faraz Sadiq, Miyu Sasaki, Claudia Schlommer, Doreen Schoenmaker, Robin Schubert. Tazo Shavgulidze. Violet Joy Smith. Елизавета Sokolova. Congratulations. Flowers. Theresa Steinbeiß. Max Suvorov. Nick Teplauchov. Alexandra Vartsava. Nikita Vorobiov. Lydia Wilson. And last but definitely not least, Dina Zoffoli.